Hello everyone and welcome to the Kiki London YouTube channel. My name's Amanda and in today's video we are going to be doing some ombre nails using the Kiki London Easy Build Up Gel and 4 Valentine inspired gel polish shades. So I really hope you all enjoy watching. Starting off, I am working on some display tips and I've chose to use the rubber colour base in 06. I really love 06 under the two more pink tone easy build up gels. I'm going to be using Sweet Rose today, but I just feel as though it gives them a kind of little bit more of an opaque finish. I really love this shade as well. So I'm going to come in and apply one thin coat to all of the nails. Of course, if you was working on yourself or a client, you would need to do all of your prep first of all. I do have a dedicated prep video up on the channel, so I'll leave that linked in the description box below in case you guys want to check it out. Now, when it comes to applying the rubber base to my natural nails, I really like to kind of like scrub it in, especially that first coat. Then if I do want to come in with a second coat for the colour, I'll float that colour on. But because we're just using it as a base coat today, I would just kind of like scrub it, work it in to the natural nail, and then gently just brush over it to even it all out. The rubber base is brilliant for any clients who have weak or brittle nails or anyone just wanting a little bit more strength. So this is what that colour looks like. As you can see, it just gives off an ever so slight hint of pink. It does look a little bit more pigmented over your natural nails compared to the clear tips. Then for our easy build up gel, I'm going to be using the gorgeous Sweet Rose. I absolutely love this colour. If you was recreating this set, you could either use the Sweet Rose or the neutral pink. Both would look nice for the colours that we're using. Now to start off with, I'm actually just going to put a thin layer of this down on all of the nails. Now I do this because if I then wanted to do an infill and remove the ombre and do a different design, I could file back to this thin layer that we've put down, infill the thin layer and then do a new design and encapsulate that. So this step is kind of optional depending on how you work, but I do always like to have a thin layer down a lot of the time if I've sculpted or applied tips to my own nails, because I kind of just find it better to start off on a builder gel base. So I'm keeping this layer fairly thin. I'm just picking up a small amount on my brush and applying it the same way you would apply your gel polish. Then once I've applied that to all of the nails, we'll pop these in to cure for 60 seconds because the Easy Build Up Gel does require a 60-second cure. As you can see here, I'm using the Kiki London Deluxe lamp. I absolutely love this lamp. It cures everything perfectly. Then as I said, we are going to be using gel polish colours for our ombre tips. So I've got Spring Fling I'm going to be starting off with here. And whenever I'm doing any kind of ombre where I need to fade out just the colour into the base, I always use my blooming gel now. Previous to the blooming gel release, I did always do this step with base coat, but I find blooming gel works a lot better because naturally with blooming gel, the idea is it diffuses the colour. I just find it really brilliant when it comes to doing a fade. So as you see there, I've applied the blooming gel roughly halfway down the nail, and then I'm going to apply Spring Fling to the tip of the nail, just touching it up to that blooming gel so the two products meet. And then I'm going to take my Kiki London Ombre brush and blend out this colour. And because it's blending out into a clear and because it's blooming gel, it creates a really, really soft fade. Now we are going to come in with the Sweet Rose Builder Gel again to create the nail bed fading into the colour, but I'm going to do all of my coloured tips first of all. So as you can see, I'm just taking that ombre brush, blending out the line where the blooming gel and the gel polish meet, and then it just kind of just diffusing that line a little bit more. Because it's a blooming gel, it naturally creates a really nice fade, but I'm just fading it in to that natural nail bed area. And you'll see here it's absolutely effortless. Here I did take a little bit of gel over the sides, so I wiped it off. Please only do this if you are wearing gloves. But you can see here it's created the most soft and subtle fade. So if you have the blooming gel, I would highly recommend giving this a go. But if you don't, you can do it with base coat as well, or you can just fade the colour out. But I find this takes a little bit longer. Now on to the second coat, I don't use the blooming gel on the second coat because I'm kind of not going to take this down as much as we did previous. I'm only applying this second coat of colour to really make the colour on the tip pop and to look a little bit more opaque. Then when it comes to blending this colour, I'll go backwards and forwards a few times and then just flip my brush around and pull that colour back and then come in backwards and forwards again. And then I'm just kind of looking over the nail and blending out any areas that look a little bit harsh. Like I said, I'm not taking this colour down too far because we have already created the blend. I just want to perfect the tip of the nail. And how gorgeous did this blend out? I absolutely loved it. So we're then going to pop that second coat into Cure, and as I said, I'm going to do all of my coloured ombre tips first of all, because this is how I would do this set if I was working on myself or a client. I would get all my colour tips out of the way and then come back in with my builder gel to create the nail bed and the nail bed area and the fade there. So again, taking the blooming gel, applying it roughly halfway down the nail, and this time we're going to be using the gorgeous Pink Me Up. I absolutely love this colour, and I wanted to make sure I used some pinks so that you can see some must-have shades for Valentine's Day. Now you want to be really careful here when you are pushing your colour up against either your blooming gel, or if you used a previous colour, if you were doing like a 2-colour ombre, you want to be really careful that you're not getting any of that previous product that you applied first onto your second colour bottle brush. So do always check your bottle brush before you put it back in the bottle. So I checked there that I haven't got too much or any of that blooming gel on the bottle brush. You kind of just, or I kind of anyway, just nudge it up so that it flows up to the blooming gel, but then I'm not actually touching the blooming gel too much or with my brush. Then same as before, we're going to blend out the Pink Me Up into that blooming gel and create our nice fade. This way, this technique kind of reminds me of how I work with acrylic. So I'll apply my colour tip first and blend that out into the natural nail bed and then come in with my second colour. And because I've worked with acrylic quite a lot, I try and transfer those techniques over to my builder gel. So if you are switching over from acrylic to working with builder gel instead, which I know has been quite popular the last couple of years, then definitely give this way a go. So once we've got that first colour coat down, we're going to come in and do our second coat. Same as before, you want to be very careful here. Where this is a very bright pigmented shade, you don't want to take this too far down. So I'm kind of just blending it in. I'm not taking it and trying to create a fade with it. I'm just blending it back slightly so that there's not a ridge where that second coat of colour has been added. It does blend out really nicely into the tacky inhibition layer of your easy build up gel anyway, but I do just find it easier doing that first coat with the blooming gel. And then where you've already created the fade in that first coat, the second coat is effortless because you're just simply blending it out so there isn't a ridge where that second coat is. Now for a bright pigmented shade, this blended out absolutely beautifully. I kind of transitioned into more darker colours as we go through so we can play around and see which colours blend out easier. So here we have the beautiful Watermelon Sugar. This is such a fun pink. It's got a little bit of a coral undertone to it, but it's really, really bright. So I wanted to see how well this would ombre. So exactly the same steps as before, a very thin coat of the blooming gel, roughly halfway down the nail, and then taking that Watermelon Sugar. Then we're going to start off by that line where the blooming gel and the Watermelon Sugar meet, starting to blend that out. Now this is a lot more pigmented, and what I do find with the more pigmented or the more brighter shades, same goes for darker shades as well, they take a little bit more blending. So you'll see here I'm switching between taking my brush horizontal and vertical just to get a really nice subtle fade. And on this one, I brought the blooming gel in to the Watermelon Sugar and just look how beautiful it blended out. Now on this colour and the next colour, I did consider you only really needed one coat because it was very pigmented, but I did decide to come in with a second coat. But due to how pigmented they are, I really don't take them back far. I don't take them all the way back to where that blooming gel area is. I just fade them in to the fade that was on the first coat ever so slightly because they are very pigmented and you will start noticing that they're overpowering that blend area. But I really loved how this one looked, especially once we come in with the Sweet Rose Builder Gel. On to the last now, we have the darkest shade out of the four that we're going to be using, which is Paradise Red. Now, Paradise Red is a stunning colour. It kind of verges somewhere between a very dark pink and a red, but it has a little hint of neon to it as well. It's really, really beautiful. And it is also a very, very similar to the Pantone colour of the year for 2023 as well. So I can see this shade being super popular, especially in the spring summer transitional time. So again, like I said, with very similar with the previous shade, it's very, very highly pigmented. You can see there, even though it meets the blooming gel and it's mixing with a clear product, it's still got a lot of pigmentation to it. So I'm going to take a little bit more time on this one to create a nice blend, but the blooming gel still makes it effortless because it diffuses that product. Now you will see at this point the blend doesn't look as nice as the previous three because of how highly pigmented it is. But at this point it doesn't actually matter too much because we have still got to come in and apply our Sweet Rose, which is going to soften and diffuse that blend area a lot more anyway. So don't stress too much if you're using a darker colour. At this point we haven't actually created our fade with our nail bed colour. So I'm coming in with that second coat. Again, I wasn't really sure if it was necessarily because this colour is super pigmented. So I just applied a teeny tiny amount and blended that back. Now, once we've cured this one, we have got our coloured tips done on all 4 nails. And I absolutely loved how these 4 colours work together. I thought they looked super, super pretty. I definitely would add a 4th pink on the thumb and wear a full set of these. Now we're ready to come in and do our nail bed. So I'm switching back to the Sweet Rose Easy Build Up Gel, taking a small amount on my brush and I'm applying this to half of the nail. So I'm applying this to that area where we've got the cuticle, the nail bed, and taking it ever so slightly over the fade. Now that first layer I'm working with a slip layer style technique, so I've applied a thin layer of gel down, and then on the second layer here you can see I've picked up a larger ball of gel, and this is where I'm working and building up the nail. So I'm rolling that product off my brush and taking it from side to roughly halfway down the nail. So you can see this is then covering up that what would be where the natural nail bed would be. It's covering up any imperfections or anything that might be on the natural nail, and it's also building up the strength and structure of the nail. So we're building up our apex here as well. Then I've cleaned off my brush and I'm just using the bottle brush just to guide the product into place a little bit more. My sidewall was looking a little bit thin on one side, and then I'm ever so gently feathering this out over the spring fling in this case. So this is what the nail looked like so far, and I did just want to blend out the builder gel a little bit more. So I'm going to take my ombre brush and very, very gently feather this out. This is just to thin it out a little bit. The colour is soft enough that it's not going to overpower or hide the spring fling gel polish. Then I'm going to pop this in to cure for 60 seconds. We will need to fully encapsulate the tip of the nail, but I'm going to do that at the end once I've done the Sweet Rose. So I'm going to show you again on one more nail. This time I opted to use the darkest colour, so we're going over the Paradise Red. So applying that thin slip layer roughly halfway down the nail, taking it over that blend slightly. Then we're going to pick up a medium-sized ball of gel. So I'm just getting this, I'm working my brush to get this on the very tip of the brush. Then I'm just going to roll that in to the slip layer, get it a nice neat cuticle line, get it up into the cuticle area, and then I'm just walking it down the nail, building up that apex area. So you can see a majority of the product stays in the center of the nail, and then as we get to that fade area, I'm just going to pull my brush off and then switch to that ombre brush and gently fade that down. And this come over the this come over the Paradise Red absolutely beautifully. As I was saying, with the Paradise Red, it was the darkest color, so it blended out and it was a little bit of a harsh blend, but the Sweet Rose covers that up beautifully. So we're going to pop that in to cure for 60 seconds. Now I did do the same on the middle 2 nails off camera because I didn't want to bore you all showing you the exact same steps. So at this point we have all of our natural nail bed area of the nail built up, but we do need to come in and encapsulate the fade and the tip of the nail to build up the rest of the strength and structure. So I'm going to switch to the Kiki London Easy Build Up Gel in Crystal Clear. And then I'm going to start off by applying a thin slip layer to the entire nail. Now a slip layer helps your builder gel layer flow into place. I've talked about this a lot in the easy build up gel videos. So I will leave a few of those linked below. Then I'm going to switch whilst that slip layer is still wet and pick up my builder ball of gel, very similar to what we did on the nail bed area, but this time we're applying it to the tip of the nail. So even though I've applied the slip layer to the entire nail, I'm only applying the builder gel layer to where it needs to be. So we need to encapsulate that pink gel polish that we've applied, and I also want to encapsulate that blend and make sure that the tip of the nail has enough product so it's going to be strong enough and last the entire length of the set. I did flip the nail upside down just to kind of pull it into the center a little bit more. And then we're going to do the same again on the next nail. So applying that thin slip layer to the entire nail. And then we're going to pick up our ball of builder gel, just a small ball. You really don't need loads. And then we're going to roll this into that slip layer roughly where that fade is, and then just walk this down to the tip of the nail. You don't want your tip of your nail to be too thick. That's why I've only picked up a small ball of gel. But then I do like to check all over just to make sure that if there's any dips in the nail or any unevenness, we've got enough builder gel there. And then again, I like to flip it upside down just for a few seconds to pull it into the center of the nail and create a little bit more apex and spine running down the middle of the nail. Again, I've done this on the remainder two nails, so they are now all fully encapsulated. We're then going to go and move on to filing and buffing. So before that, I like to give the nails a good clean with one of the alcohol wipes. And then I'm really loving the new Kiki London 100 grit rectangle files for my shaping. They shape the nail beautifully and so quickly as well due to being 100 grit. So as you can see, I'm just coming around the sides of the nail. I'm not necessarily coming over the surface of this nail too much. I'm just debulking the side walls a little bit and creating the shape with them. And this is because the builder gel files super quickly, especially with a 100 grit file. So I don't necessarily want to take that over the surface of the nail. Then because I was quite happy with my application, I'm not actually going to file the surface of the nail. If I was going to, I would use a 180 grit file, but I'm just going to buff over the surface of the nail. Just if there is any unevenness, this will buff out using the 100 grit side of the buffer. This is just going to smooth everything out, give you a nice even surface. And then once I'm happy with that, I do flip to the 180 grit side of the buffer. This gives you an even more smoother surface, and it's going to smooth out any scratches that you might have created when filing the nail or with your buffer. It just makes it a super smooth finish. You don't want to overly buff the nail because we do want our gel top coat to still stick, but I do just like to have a nice smooth surface. Then we're going to clean and dust away all of the nail, and look how better they look now they have been shaped. Again, I did this to the remaining three nails off camera. Then the final step is to come in and top coat. So today I opted to use the no wipe top coat. This top coat has the most beautiful high shine to it. So I'm just going to apply a thin layer of this, and it's going to bring back all the life and colour to the nails that was taken away once we had buffed them. And just look how incredibly glossy this top coat looks. If you don't have this one, I highly recommend checking it out. Once I've applied this to all of the nails, I'm going to pop these in to cure for 30 seconds, and that is the end of the set. I really hope you all enjoyed this video. Now, of course, there are lots of different ways to do ombres, especially with gel polish and builder gel. This is just the way that I've found it really good lately. So let me know what you think of this technique in the comments below. If you have any questions, do pop them in the comments below. I'm always happy to help in any way I can. If you did enjoy today's video, please do give it a thumbs up and leave us a comment below. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, I would absolutely love it if you hit that subscription button. I upload videos every single Friday. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you all so much for watching. Lots of love. Take care. Bye-bye. Oh, sorry. One last thing. As always, all of the products I've used and the link to the Kiki London website is always linked in the description box below. So do check the description box out as well. Once again, lots of love. Take care. Bye-bye.